Let's go, guys. What's up? Welcome to the late night show where we go through the discography of phenomenal artists and rate and rank all of their albums. Today's band is Parquet Courts. Yay! Hey, quick sidebar. That was not as smooth as I wanted it to be. Okay. If you don't know who Parquet Courts is, Parquet Courts is a post-punk slash indie rock slash art punk group of Texan musicians that made their way up to New York. I promise not all these videos are going to be about bands from New York, okay? Just as a mere coincidence. Parquet Courts is made up of Andrew Savage on vocals and guitar, Austin Brown also on vocals and guitar, but he's more of a secondary vocalist, Sean Yeaton on bass, and Max Savage on drums. Another drummer named Max? Looks like I have a type. Okay, sidebar over. Okay, I was a little bit skeptical of this band at first because I hadn't really heard of them or any of their top songs when I checked them out. I listened to the title track of Wide Awake, titled Wide Awake, and I wasn't immediately impressed, but I did recognize the album cover, so I decided to give it a try, and I was immediately floored. So here we are. Can we just get another sidebar real quick? Okay, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to go album by album in order of release date. I will be including the one that is not on streaming services, and I am not counting Monastic Living, as it is technically an EP, but I will be counting Milano, because that is technically an LP. That's how it's going to work. At the end of the video, I'm going to compare and contrast, rank the albums, favorite to least favorite. No, least favorite to favorite. And yeah, sidebar over. That's the end of the sidebars for now. Before you ask, I did listen to Warning by Cameron Winter. Saw that came out a couple days ago. It was pretty good. Nothing too crazy, but we're not here to talk about Cameron Winter right now. We're here to talk about Parquet Courts. So let's just jump into the album, starting with their debut. American Specialties 2011. This is a pretty difficult listen because to me it's unclear what their goal or direction was for this album. There are some songs that have a recorder blaring a riff in the background, and the recorder doesn't really do much in terms of making this album better. There's an overwhelming amount of feedback and buzzy guitar on this album that kind of just crowd the whole album with chaos. I'd be quicker to call it noise rock at some points, but then amidst the chaos, there is these moments of clarity and good songwriting that you just can't help but revisit. Songs like Square States and College Chess Club are just kind of earworms and you want to go back to them. I'd have an easier time going back if they were on like Apple Music or Spotify or whatever. Regardless, you get what you get. I do just want to highlight the song Mezzanine as having one of the best riffs that they've almost ever made, but it kind of does get ruined by the overwhelming amount of feedback and just noise from the guitar. It's generally okay and not an inoffensive album, but it's just not really my thing, and they kind of just seem lost on this album. And if you told me where they're going to go after it, I might not even believe you if this is the only album from them I've heard. Light Up Gold, on the other hand, 2012 or 2013. I think it got released in 2012 and then re-released in 2013. This is a thing of beauty. My first albums that got me into this band were Wide Awake and Human Performance. I listened to those two first. I was under the impression that it was like a clean production, nice, tight band that just like wrote catchy songs or whatever. And the second part is true, but the production isn't as clean on Sunbathing Animal and especially Light Up Gold. And I do quite like it. I feel like it works pretty well, especially for the time that this album was made in. This album has 15 songs on it, and it's only about 35 minutes long. It flies by. Every song is short and sweet, but yet every single song, despite being so short, stays in your mind, and you don't really have any songs that just leave your memory instantly after leaving this album. This album is post-punk adjacent, with song after song of simple but effective songwriting. The bass lines are genius. The drum grooves are punchy and they drive the songs to perfection. And the thing that Parquet Courts is most known for is Andrew Savage's lyricism. There's lots of political lyricism and him sharing and stating his beliefs in a very poetic way. Master of My Craft is probably a top 2 Parquet Courts opener when it comes to setting the tone for an album, and just in general, to be honest. Also, I've seen a lot of love for Borrowed Time in my preparation for this video, and I do definitely agree that it's a highlight, just a wonderful chorus and with insightful lyrics throughout the song, as well as Stoned and Starving. The same exact situation applies. I see a lot of love online, and I agree with it myself. The groovy and catchy side of Parquet Courts is shown pretty early in this album with You're No Stoner, and songs like that continue on throughout the album, but that one is specifically a highlight. All of the songs that are over the unusually small average length of song on this album, while being long for this album, they don't overstay their welcome or add bloat to the album. Not a single one of them. Every single one of the songs on this album do not overstay their welcome, and they end when they're supposed to end. And each song feels like it was a necessary addition to the album, even though there are 15. Careers in Combat, the title track, 2-song suite, and Caster of Worthless Spells are both like just over a minute long, but they feel so much more than that because they're just so good. This album was a leap forward from their first album, and it was rightfully their breakout album. Okay, Sunbathing Animal, released in 2014. Light Up Gold's follow-up is a slightly disappointing album. I feel like I like it more than most people I see in reviews or online. I do think it is a very pleasant listen and an enjoyable listen, but it's not a very engaging one like its predecessor is. This album is filled with great songs. The opening stretch of songs, Bodies Made Of, into Black and White, into Dear Ramona, into What Color Is Blood, into Vienna 2. When I got to that point on the album, I was like, bro, why is this so low in my rankings? But then as the album goes on, you kind of start to see why it's lower in people's rankings. The problems with this album in particular are a little bit less obvious when you listen to it just on your own, and something just kind of feels less good about this album than Light Up Gold. And I would say that it comes down to the actual structure of the songs. There's a repetitive nature to most of the songs, and Light Up Gold had the same thing, but these songs aren't really as good as Light Up Gold songs. So when you get to tracks like She's Rolling and Instant Disassembly on the longer side, you get a little bit more tired of them more quickly. This album just kind of has a harder time staying fresh and keeping the listener engaged. A review on Rate Your Music that I saw in preparation for this video stated that Light Up Gold has 2 more songs than this album, and it is 15 minutes shorter. I feel bad crapping on this album because I actually personally really like it, especially more than a lot of people I see, but the small things really take their toll on this one. Content Nausea 2014. I'm so excited to talk about this one. This one, Content Nausea, to me, leans more into an experimental, playful, and art punk weird niche. And it seems like they weren't really being as serious on this album, given that they released it under a different name, Parquet Courts spelt a different way. And I think they just wanted to make whatever they wanted to make with this one, which it sounds bad, but I promise you it's not. This different approach to songwriting is immediately apparent in the opening track, Every Day It Starts. Now, I used to hate this song, I'll be fully honest, but it has kind of grown on me after a few listens, and I do think it does what it needs to do. And it's immediately followed by the title track. This song is very good. It's a classic Andrew Savage political rant and commentary behind just genuinely beautiful guitar. Now, songs like this is where Andrew Savage's lyricism shines. It's also very apparent on Violence off of the album Wide Awake. Andrew Savage tends to comment in his lyricism on issues that he cares about and just the state of the world as it is. issues like the environment problems, political violence and harassment, and just in general problems in the world that he sees. And he does it in a way that really speaks to the listener, and it's a very poetic and creative way compared to most bands who try and get political. I don't know how we feel about Anthony Fantano, but Anthony Fantano said that Andrew Savage and Parquet Courts as a band does a commentary on politics in the state of the world better than bands where the members have PhDs. Looking at the track list after that title track, there's an interlude that's like under a minute long into a pretty well done cover of 13th Floor Elevator's Slide Machine. Right away, this album carries a very different energy. This is like the first 4 songs of the entire album. This different vibe is driven even further by the continuing songs on the album. Like Pretty Machines is a very catchy song and probably the most friendly song on this album. And then Psychostructures is more of a drony, synthy driven song right after it. Very different vibe. And then it goes straight into The Map, which is a spoken word story with dissonant instrumentals in the background that all clash and just complete chaos. And I get the experimental nature, but the song just kind of isn't that good as a result. There is only one song with lyrics, not including interludes, that is under 2 minutes, and that is the punk freak out Insufferable, which oddly enough is my favorite song on this thing. There is a second cover on this album. It is slightly less impressive. It is of These Boots Are Made for Walkin', and then right after that is the fantastic closing track, Shadow of a Southern Myth, and it is the longest song on the album by far, but it is also probably objectively the best, and it definitely shows the amazing songwriting and content nausea. Like, ugh. I just went through every single song on this album other than the 2 interludes, and there was something notable to say about every single one of them. And I think it speaks to how good this album is if you give it a shot. Like, you probably will not love it on first listen, but it definitely grows on you. And the end result, despite all the chaos, is surprisingly impressive. Human Performance is next. Human Performance is an elevation in the band. More specifically, the band's ability to write catchy and clever songs. The band works as a unit very well, and as usual, the bass lines on this album are nothing short of genius, especially on songs like Berlin Got Blurry and One Man No City. I'm going to mention those songs later again, but I had to mention those for the amazing bass lines. The choruses in this album are punchy and creative, as well as innovative in terms of Parquet Courts' songwriting abilities specifically, and the verses are just as memorable in a lot of these songs as well. I have seen a lot of people compare this to the Velvet Underground. I've seen people call it Velvet Underground worship, which is why I listen to every single Velvet Underground album. No, I'm kidding. That's a different video. I do see the Velvet Underground comparisons, though. One thing that is apparent on this album is that Parquet Courts is getting better at making songs interesting over a longer period of time than they might be used to. Whether it's the instrumental break section in Already Dead, keeping the song fresh, the earworm that is One Man No City, or the Wide Awake foreshadowing that is the title track. Like, that song sounds eerily similar to a Wide Awake song. The band delivers on many fronts here. The band doesn't abandon their wacky and brown, if you listen to Ween, style of songwriting, with songs like I Was Just Here being a weird break, and honestly, I feel like it fits the album surprisingly well. On Human Performance, Parquet Courts combines 2 of their strengths. The first one is just a catchy riff that goes on along through the song, and copycat vocals that go along with the riff, and jammy, driven songs like Dust or Captive of the Sun. There are just some of the best songs in their discography on this one. Berlin Got Blurry is a very good example of this one. That's also another example of amazing lyricism on Andrew Savage's part. The people in the comment section of the music videos of this freaking band are enthralled by Andrew Savage. Unfortunately for this album, some songs fly under the radar a little bit, and they miss the mark a little more evidently on this. Songs like Steady on My Mind and Keep It Even as well are ones that are just a lot weaker on this. The band knew where they could go and almost got there on this album. They were so close, but luckily they do get that a bit later. Okay, Milano 2017. They did not get there quite yet. This album cover is terrible, by the way. There isn't very much to say about this one in my notes for this video. Like, Human Performance is a page and a half. Milano's half a page. It is a very short album, which is why there isn't much to say about it, but it is technically an LP, so I have to talk about it. Milano is a collaboration album with Danielle Lupi and Karen O, who I've never heard of. A 30-minute, 9-song album has a lot to deliver on based off of the disadvantages that it already has, especially with an album cover like this at the forefront. I wish I could say that this album was a surprising masterpiece, but honestly, it was just okay. I don't know. The opening track, Soul and Cigarette, just doesn't really grab me, even though I've seen a lot of love for it online. The chorus for Talisa annoys me quite heavily, even though the verses are pretty good. And every time I get it on shuffle, it's just a Russian roulette of whether or not I'll sit through the chorus or skip it immediately. Now, the song Mount Napoleon is just the most random highlight of their discography ever thrown at track 3 in the album. Mount Napoleon easily blows every other song on this album out of the water, and it's not even close, okay? Like, this is a discography topper. It's punchy and catchy and easy to sing along to, and it's all the good things you want, and it actually feels like a solo song and not a collab song. Aside from that, like, Flush is all right, but there's nothing really interesting about it. The instrumentals on that song and a lot of the songs on this album just don't impress me very much. And it's the songs where the band is singing where they kind of shine. I feel like they don't really know what to do when there's collaborators. And I'm just not really a fan of the other vocalists on this album. And overall, I just don't really love it. Pretty Prizes is an alright song, though, I guess. Look at the track list and go wild? I mean, like, let's just go wild. Wide Awake 2018. This is a 10 out of 10 album. Spoiler alert, 10 out of 10 album. Go listen to it now. Okay, Wide Awake starts off with Total Football. Total Football is just, first of all, it has the Total Football theme. Just look it up if you don't know what that is. And it also creates these metaphors with real life and unity and individualism in society. And it's a perfect opener to this album and shows you that they are going to be as political as they want to be. And it works on this album because it immediately goes into violence, which talks about how violence is daily life, whether it's verbal or physical, or using it through politics to get power or get what you need, is that violence is always there. Before the water gets too high is an interesting metaphor. It's first of all about the environment, like the actual water rising, tension in social aspects of life, rising and rising to a point where things just blow up, and it's more set in an apocalyptic setting. And I think it's very interesting, and it also has an incredibly groovy and addictive to listen to bass line, and that is just another reason to keep listening to it. Mardi Gras Beads, I have trouble seeing where it fits into the album, but I do really like it, and that instrumental part, like the dun has been the transition between all the different albums. There you go, you should listen to that song. Almost Had to Start a Fight and In and Out of Patience is a like double song. And first of all, the transition in between the two and into Freebird 2 is a very good one. But also, like, I think it does a good job of portraying a character that is easily provoked and resorts to violence when they feel provoked, as the song says. I think it's a very nice song, and In and Out of Patience is also a very catchy and neat song as well. Freebird 2 takes a step back from the politics and talks more about Andrew Savage's rough upbringing and him coming to terms with that, reflecting on it, seeing how it affects him as an adult, and seeing how his life has changed because of it. A lot of people listen to the lyrics of this and have just thought that Andrew Savage is a straight up genius. The lyrics on the song are very good. That also goes with Normalization. Normalization is definitely a more punky, post-punky song. It talks about the normalization of all the different themes that have been discussed earlier in this album review. Back to Earth is probably the weakest song on the album, and it is a lot more ethereal, atmospheric, just different from the rest of the songs, but it's less hard hitting, which doesn't really fit as much with this album, but it is still a great song. Wide Awake talks about how being woke or whatever in today's world just kind of makes you lay awake at night thinking about the world, where things are going to end up, how things will go, and stuff like that. And it is a very funky, jammy, groovy, whatever word you want to call it, tune, but it also does send a pretty important message as well. New York City Observation is kind of like Back to Earth, where it's a little bit different from the rest, and I don't like it as much, but I still really like it. This might be one of the shorter songs on the album, but it's still pretty good. I think Extinction is the shortest song on the album. Whatever, I'll fact check that later. But Extinction is a very good song. Obviously, from the title, you can gather kind of what it's talking about. I don't really want to go into too much detail at risk of repeating myself. This is my second time filming the Wide Awake rant, and the first time I just droned on and on about these political themes and stuff. So I'm trying to stray away from that. Developing Change is a lot more eerie because there's children singing in the main title of the song. So do with that what you will. It's a very nice, or not nice, but nice to the ear song. I think it's a pretty good one, but it's not as good as Tenderness, which is the closing track on this one. This is probably the best closing track. Wide Awake has a great opener, a great closer. Listening to this album all the way through is an absolute treat, and it's one punk song that never stops. And Tenderness is a great ending to that album. Very catchy, beautiful lyricism as always. Wide Awake is a 10 out of 10 album for sure. Sympathy for Life is the final album released in 2021, and it's likely the band's final project for the foreseeable future. One of the band members lives in Paris now. People are trying to do stuff with their families all the time now because bands tend to do that for some reason. I hate them. Sympathy for Life was a big disappointment to a lot of fans because they wanted just Wide Awake too. It's like the Magnetic Fields releasing 69 love songs and then having to release I right afterwards. Parquet Courts released Wide Awake and then had to release Sympathy for Life right afterwards. And Sympathy for Life goes in a bit of a different direction from Wide Awake. It goes for more of a funky and groovy style of album, kind of Talking Heads-esque. I see a lot of Talking Heads mentions, and again, Velvet Underground mentions when talking about this album. Songs like Walking at a Downtown Pace just have banging drum grooves. I think Walking at a Downtown Pace probably has my favorite drum groove in all of Parquet Courts' discography. And Black Widow Spider is another big highlight on this album for me. But those two songs are the first two songs on this album. So it kind of just falls off from there. And this album suffers a lot from pacing and dud tracks. Like Plant Life, I just can't get into no matter how hard I try. Just Shadows reminds me of a song from an earlier project, and I quite like that song, but it does go on a bit too long anyway. And I think the most interesting songs are at the beginning, and the one song at the very end, the closing track, Pulcinella, I think it's called. It's really good, but other than that, it's just more of a you don't really have to listen to it to get the essential Parquet Courts experience album. Okay, we made it to the album ranking. Sidebar. Okay, this is the album ranking portion of the video. I'm just going to go through least favorite to favorite, say what I rate them out of 10. At last place, we have American Specialties. Nothing special, kind of bad, dare I say it. There are some interesting ideas, and I do see where they will go with Light Up Gold, but it just doesn't hit on this album. And so I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. And keep in mind, 5 is average, okay? I'm not one of those people that has 7 as their average. Next up, we have Milano. Now, Milano is just not a strong album, and it doesn't fit within the discography for me. And if it weren't for Mount Napoleon being such a banger, this would probably be a 4 out of 10 album as well, but I'm just going to rate it a solid 5. Right above Milano, we have Sympathy for Life, which is surprising. It's a huge step up. I just think that this album has too many dud tracks, just too many tracks that aren't impressive at all, really. And I would say that this one is like a 6.5 out of 10. It's definitely a big step up from Milano, though, and I would listen to this album all the way through with pretty much no complaints actively. Next up, we have Sunbathing Animal. Sunbathing Animal is a very good one, but it just suffers from dud tracks for me that happen to be the longest song of the album, and they just add so much bloat to the thing, and it doesn't feel very good to listen to through the middle. And so I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Next up, very surprising that I have it at 4th, is Human Performance, because I had this at 2nd when I did my original ranking, like before re-listening to anything for the video. And the reason I moved it down lower is not because I thought it got worse, it's because I thought every other album just got so much better, especially Content Nausea, which I had like 3rd last. This album would definitely be way higher if it didn't have some tracks like Keep It Even and stuff like that. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Content Nausea. Content Nausea surprised me a lot by being my top 3 favorite album, and it just does what it needs to do very well, and I listen to it over and over, trying to understand it, trying to think of things to say about it, and I just came to the conclusion that I just love what it does, and I love all the songs on it, so I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Light Up Gold. Light Up Gold is just perfect song after perfect song, and there are some songs that just aren't as strong simply, but this album is still a solid 9 out of 10, and it is a perfect breakout album, and it kind of just signifies what the band is capable of early on even. And then at first place, surprising absolutely nobody, we have Wide Awake. It is a 10 out of 10 album. Go listen to it. No one cares. Go listen to it. And with that, we have the Parquet Courts album ranking video out of the way. We're good to go for the next whatever I do. Don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, if you haven't listened to Parquet Courts, go ahead and give them a listen. If you do listen to Parquet Courts, let me know what you think of my opinions and what your opinions are. And yeah, as usual, let me know what you want to see for my videos. Let me know blah, 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 blah. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. I absolutely love the support, and I hope it keeps coming. It helps me out a lot. Give this video a like. Have a good one. See ya.